Dr. Collins, I have one other question I want to ask, sort of off of what we've been talking about here, but it's one that I hear a lot about. People keep asking me about. There's a great interest in this country about what's happening to our chimpanzees. As you know, we've had a great partnership with you, with the Humane Society, on retiring these chimpanzees from research. I know our Senator Landrieu has been kind of in the forefront of this, and I know she wants me to also ask this question. I was one of 3 senators who requested the IOM report that revealed that chimpanzee research could not be justified except for a very few conditions. Again, Dr. Collins, you're to be commended for adopting the IOM recommendations so promptly, the very day the report was released. Your decision to retire approximately 310 of the 360 government-owned chimpanzees currently in laboratories was a bold maneuver, and I thank you for that. As a longtime appropriator, however, I know that the work takes far longer than the issuing of a policy or the signing of a bill. I'm keenly aware of the complexity of creating sanctuary space, grouping, transporting chimpanzees, arranging for their care. Many of these chimpanzees suffer from illnesses and conditions we gave them for the sake of research. So could you please update the subcommittee on the plan for retiring these chimpanzees? Can you highlight the challenges and considerations involved, including any funding challenges that we need to be cognizant of?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for your leadership on this issue and many steps along the way, including asking the IOM to conduct that study, which concluded that the need for chimpanzees in research had now been greatly reduced, and that we could, in fact, get by just fine by keeping a small group of 50 available for emergency needs or special things where only chimpanzees could be used for research. And you also helped us with a fix on what had been a legislative problem about a cap on the amount of funds that NIH was allowed to spend on chimps in sanctuaries, and that made it possible for the retirements that we very much wanted to do to go forward. But you're quite right. We have a long way to go here in terms of the number of chimps that need to be moved into sanctuaries. And at the present time, that space doesn't exist. We have moved many already into Chimp Haven, which is already now pretty close to capacity. We are looking vigorously at other...
Is that the one in Louisiana?
Yes.
Yeah.
And we're looking vigorously at other alternatives because there are other chimp sanctuaries to make sure that they meet the standards that you would want to see so these chimps are well cared for. And there's much interest in philanthropy in helping out with this, and the Humane Society has been a wonderful partner as well. My dear friend Jane Goodall, who will turn 80 years old tomorrow, has been very helpful in raising consciousness of everyone about what an important issue this is. I would not tell you that we have this solved. I think it's going to be several years before the space can be identified, the funds can be found, and the completion of the retirements can be achieved so that we are left with just those 50 chimps for research. And we'll be evaluating that regularly as well to see whether those are even needed at that level. But I appreciate your interest and this committee's interest in this, and we are going to keep you regularly briefed on what the needs might be.
I appreciate it. This started back in the late 90s, and that's when Jane Goodall came to see us, and Senator Bingaman, I know, was involved. Mm-hmm. The senator on the Senate side that introduced the bill on saving the chimps was Senator Bob Smith from New Hampshire. I remember that. I forget who the other one was, but it was a strong bipartisan effort. And so it's taken a long time. I know we got that cap removed. It was a $30 million cap, if I'm not mistaken. We got that removed. Yes. But there is a great deal of interest in moving ahead on this. And maybe if you can't today, could you get to the committee sort of some of the timelines you see, or what more do we need to do to kind of expedite this?
I'm glad to do that. And Mr. Chairman, again, when I came to this job as NIH director, I did not imagine that this issue would become so prominent. Yeah. And yet it has turned out to be, I think, one of the more gratifying opportunities to work across many different constituencies and do the right thing for these special animals who are our closest relatives.
Our closest cousins.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.